We got Joel Smallbone here from For King and Country. We're talking about A Drummer Boy Christmas Live. It's playing in select theaters this month. Joel, thank you for your time. I know you guys are so busy right now.
Yeah. Well, we were just talking about this off air. Nice to talk to you not in the back of a golf cart at a festival.
I know. The music festival scene, though, you guys, I mean, you can do it all. But before we get into big arena shows like this one, what was your favorite Christmas tradition growing up? Can you share that with us?
Yeah. We have to understand, Caroline, that, Luke and I are from Australia, and Australia is part of the Southern Hemisphere. So all the seasons are flipped. And therefore, Christmas falls in the summer. But we've adopted a lot of your Northern Hemisphere wintry songs and traditions, which is it's actually really confounding for two young lads trying to navigate their way through the holidays, because you're singing these songs like, chestnuts roasting on an open fire. And I joke, if there's a fire in Australia in the summer, it's a bushfire. So you should run. You shouldn't write a song about it. But yet we were just this was what we did, and you'd have a barbecue at the beach and you'd be singing about Frosty the Snowman, and it didn't make sense. You have Franky the Sandman is the closest thing we have. But when we first moved actually to Nashville, Tennessee in the States, the first Christmas we were here, it snowed, and our little boy brains fell out of our head. We were like, this is incredible. This is what we've been singing about all these years. And so now, fast forward to, be able to not only sing about Christmas and the OG Christmas story, and, to be able to put it in cinemas across the States and Canada and the world, really, it's a bit of a weird kind of full circle moment for sure.
Is there anything from your favorite parts about Christmas that you've incorporated into the Drummer Boy live shows?
Certainly. I mean, what I love about Christmas is you have these. What other holiday, other than maybe, America has Independence Day and they have all these patriotic songs, but what other holiday do you have these incredible songs that have been written hundreds of years ago that your parents' parents sung? And every year they come back around, just the nostalgia and the memories and the beauty. So the childhood version of me would be so thrilled at the idea of taking songs like Silent Night or Do You Hear What I Hear or The Little Drummer Boy and sort of reimagining them. We also, one of Luke's, favorite Christmas memories was he got given a drum kit by Santa Claus when he was a kid. So you could argue that that's actually where the Little Drummer Boy, quote unquote, was born. And now we have his son, Phoenix, my godson, who is our official Little Drummer Boy in the, Drummer Boy Christmas Live concert experience. And so there's all these little closed loop, full circle moments with this concert film for sure.
Well, we see that even with the Unsung Hero movie, these little odes, these little tributes, these little Easter eggs, I guess you could say, woven in. And since you guys are getting more and more into the film business, and good for you for taking time off next year, it does seem fitting that you have this massive stadium show now available in theaters. But what was the trickiest part about producing the show also for film? Because in Houston, Texas, more than 12,000 people. I mean, you're focused on the audience usually, but now you've got cameras going around. Logistically, what was the trickiest part?
It was the time frame from when we decided to do it to when we were filming. I was in this very room. I was reading the Wall Street Journal and last Christmas, and it had highlighted 3 film genres that had saved the cinemas in 2023. It was religious dramas, classic films going back into theaters, and then the third one was live concert films. And we had been toying around with this idea of, should we capture, the film, the show for film. And it was something about that article that really tipped me over the edge of going we need to do this. But we had 21 days from the day I read the article to our final show in Houston, Texas. And so we were fortunate. I literally called all of the film crew from Unsung Hero, the movie, and they were all available. The director of photography, Johnny Durango, et cetera, down the list, Sam Wiley, Jesse, et cetera. and we were able to put this sort of ragtag band of brothers together. I think so. That was incredibly challenging. We also rented the arena a whole second day because we didn't want this to feel like you were sort of a bird's eye view looking in on the show. We wanted it to be like palpable and up close and personal, create something that felt like we were dropping the audience in the theater into the show. And I'm so proud of Mariah, my wife, who's just upstairs. She watched it with me a couple of months ago, a screener, and she turned to me and she said, I think I like this more than your actual live show. So I was encouraged and insulted, all at the same time. But I really feel like that. I feel like we've accomplished, and obviously your audiences will decide, but I feel like we accomplished the mission of capturing the spirit of the show, but still making the theater feel like they're in it with us and a part of it,
And maybe people who have seen it live, who were kind of in the back seats, can now see it from a different close-up perspective too, which is neat.
Anyone, even if you're down front, you don't get to see the scope of the night. You
True.
just you see the up close and personal, and that's what I loved about this, is either pulling all the way back to the very back of the arena, and then the next moment, because we filmed that second day, it's like right here up close, and we can look at the camera, and it's so in your face, literally, that I'm really proud of it.
As a fan of music, because I know you're a concert goer too, where do you like to sit? Are you a close-up guy, or do you like to get the scope? Generally, when you get a ticket for a show, where is it?
It depends. Live concerts, I prefer to sit sort of close to the soundboard, because it's usually the optimal sonic space, because the guy that's programming it is there and mixing it is there, and visually it's pretty strong. But for plays, Broadway plays, or Cirque du Soleil plays, you got to be up. I've got to go all the way up. Because plays are so much about the expression.
Intimacy.
When you sit at the back of the room, you just don't get to engage. So yeah, it all depends on the type of show, but I certainly have a spot. The other thing is, I'm so like OCD, I have to be centered. I have to be like in the center of the room. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that it was you're the one that came up with this idea of like, let's do this in Houston. Is your family used to you being the one that throws these massive, ridiculous ideas out?
Sort of. Yeah. I'm kind of, if I had to self-diagnose, I would say I'm sort of the engine. I'm the like, let's go, let's charge the hill. Let's go do this in 3 weeks. And I literally said to Luke, when I called him, I said, hey, I really think our future selves in 2024 are going to thank us for doing this. Partly too, because it was the last show of the last arena Christmas tour that we have on the books. We're doing a couple of theaters this year, and we're doing a couple of residencies, and we don't have anything planned for next year. And so it was this kind of final moment of going, we've got to capture this, because we don't know if we'll ever do this again. And I think he kind of understood that. Everyone was pretty fussy about it initially, I will say, though. Everyone was like, because you're doing a whole tour, and there's so much effort involved. Yeah. And to have the last show when you're exhausted, have a whole film crew show up, and it was a lot. But the prophecy came true. Everyone's very proud of it, and that it's out not only in the United States, but we've only done one Christmas show in Canada. And so to have it go to Canada as well is quite something.
Okay, I wanted to know, just because I'm a theater person, so I'm looking at all your wardrobe for all these shows. Yeah. And tell me, give me some nugget behind the scenes, maybe something people don't realize about costumes, who designs the costumes, what goes on behind the scenes. I need to know something about that part of it.
Yeah. Well, it's actually kind of a full circle moment as well, because in many ways, Drummer Boy, the song, we discovered it the first year we released any music in 2012, and we didn't have a Christmas album or a Christmas single, and we said we're going to do a Christmas tour. And that Christmas tour really indicated, not only sonically, rhythmically, what we would do, not only at Christmas, but even year round as a band, but it also indicated this sort of revolutionary, old attire. Mm-hmm. And we've kind of carried that on, and had some really great minds and designers help us with it. Ashley Lowen out in Los Angeles has been a very key designer for a lot of the music videos. Malia Schlepper more recently with like the For King Country live tour and a lot of the kind of the texture that she created. But it really starts with like, okay, what's the era? So Burn the Ships was more nautical and more kind of ship captain. What Are We Waiting For was like desert nomads, you know? And so as long as you have this sort of theme, you have a universe to play inside of. The worst thing for a creative is going, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Then you're like, this is terrifying. I don't even know where to start with this. But when you have a true north, if you will, it really creates a through line. Yeah.
I love it. I love what you guys are doing. You're the only ones in our industry doing it. So it's very exciting to watch everything. Enjoy your Christmas, but enjoy your year off. Are you allowed to tell me anything about what your film that you're working on is? Like, I don't have to say it on the radio, but I'd love to be able to say like, it's a documentary. It's another feature film.
I will say it is a feature length film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of all I can say at this
okay.
point, but it's, and I'll say this too, it's epic. Like you got to think big with it. Yeah.
I'd expect nothing less from you and your family.
Yeah.
Okay. Lastly, the world knows that your work, your ministry, I mean, even what you've been talking about, it's not just you and Luke, your sister Rebecca, like the whole family is involved. So leave us with this. Best advice for families working together.
Start young. I've obviously done a lot of reflecting lately, Caroline, on how it has happened. And because of Unsung Heroes, so many folks have asked, how do you keep doing it? And so I've had to retrace our steps. And I have a suspicion that, speaking of Rebecca and James, it was those formative years when we were young teenagers, where we were the road crew. Dad needed cheap labor, and we became Rebecca's road crew. And that we learned the art of like collaboration and compromise and conflict resolution. So that when we became adults, what's really beautiful about where we find ourselves now is you get thrown into a family when you're young and you don't choose your siblings. It just is what it is. But there does come a very distinct point in life where you get to either choose or not choose your siblings relationally and vocationally. And it's been a real privilege to be able to choose one another, to partner on things by choice, not just by biology. And so, yeah, I would say start young for sure.
You have to know the impact that part of your life has on so many people. It's not just your music, but just how your family presents family is just so inspiring for so many. Well,
thank you.
Really appreciate your time. This is exciting. A Drummer Boy Christmas Live. It's playing in select theaters this month. For kingandcountry.com. Joel Smallbone. Thank you so much, Joel. Appreciate your time. And Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. It feels good to say it. And I don't know if we'll see you in 2025, but let's find a golf cart and do an interview sometime soon.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. See you, dear.